I will do a very short presentation. And since you both are on the screen already, let me introduce my dear friends and former colleagues. Ahmed Albalooshi from Advantari, the founder and the CEO of Advantari, a technology expert and former banking executive. And we worked very closely for a long time. Thank you for your time and for joining our conference. Welcome. And on the other side, thank you, Ahmed. And on the other side, Ali Sajwani, again, a long years banking executive and now also a entrepreneur, CEO of Grape Technologies, focusing on blockchain and fintech. Welcome, Ali, to our conference, to this webinar. Thank you for the time. And Hani Idris will join us shortly. So I will do a very brief introduction to set the stage, and then we will have a panel on talking about the wonders of digital transformation and especially in and around the banking and the larger financial services industry. We usually start talking about digital in the context of a changing world. I personally believe that the digital transformation started with the invention of the semiconductor, which was in the 60s basically. And since we have microchips and we put the microchips basically in everything, the whole world gets connected to the internet. And for those who are close to my age or even more experienced, somebody who is 40 or above or even 50 and above has experienced the last 30, 40 years how the personal computer has entered our lives and our businesses, how the internet has entered our personal lives and our businesses, and how the mobile phone has entered our lives and our businesses. And basically everything changed with those three main technologies. And this is more or less the essence of the digital transformation. So it's not very new. We call it digital transformation probably since about 10 or 15 years, because with especially the iPhone and other smartphones, the mobile phone has become a very important part of our daily life. And for banks, this has been very true. So a bank today without a mobile application is impossible to function. Almost all customers would expect from a bank to be available on the mobile channel. And in this context, we came up with following definition for digital transformation. So for us, digital transformation is the reimagination of all aspects of life, personal and business, by using digital capabilities for sustainable success. And there are a few components in this definition. The most important thing is to understand that digital transformation is a means to an end. So the purpose of why we are doing this is sustainable success. It has a business reason. It has a purpose. The purpose is to make the world a better place, to make our company be more profitable, to make our not-for-profit more focused on its mission, to make our cities more livable and lovable, to make the whole planet more sustainable. So for cities, nations, for businesses, for whole industries, digital transformation brings a lot of new opportunities to be more effective, more efficient, more productive, more customer-centric, more operational excellence, more integrative, and also more sustainable. So in this definition, we also use by using digital capabilities. So these digital capabilities are not just the outstanding technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, cloud, mobile phones, social media, and so on and so forth. But it is also the transformation towards enterprise agility, towards design thinking, towards new interesting business models. This would be also considered as digital capabilities. And we should be brave enough and courageous enough and creative enough to reimagine how we are doing business and how we are operating some processes. And the ones who are brave enough basically change the reality. And this happened, for example, in our personal lives. Today, we consume news and content more from digital devices rather than from printed press. The future of the newspaper is the mobile phone. The future of movies is basically the digital channels. The future of music has turned already. The future of music has arrived in the form of Spotify, basically, and other subscription services. So we are not buying CDs anymore. We don't buy LPs anymore. We don't have cassettes players anymore. We have music subscriptions, which enable us to access all the world's music on the tip of our fingers for a small subscription fee and share it with our whole family and our friends. So, and you can imagine that a music store who was selling CDs does not know nothing about me, if I like this music I bought or not, if I'm listening to this, if I will give it away, or if this is a gift for my wife or for my friend or for my family, has no clue at all. Spotify knows everything. What kind of music I listen to, what time of the day I'm listening to it, what I'm listening during breakfast, during showering, during fitness, during other things. And so Spotify can come up with very precise recommendations to make me feel much more comfortable and to consume even more music. The same happens with Netflix and movies. The same happens with payments moving towards mobile and QR code payments. And during the pandemic, we ordered our food, grocery deliveries, and also food deliveries because we were not allowed to go out. So if there were no home deliveries during COVID, we would have been suffered how to get our food and how to feed our children, basically. So this happened in the last 10, 20 years, and COVID just accelerated it tremendously. And now this will continue. And in the last 10, 20 years, we also have seen how industries have transformed. When we were talking to banks about 20 years ago, the internet even looked rather strange, and the banks were saying, there are only kids, especially before 2000, when I was talking in the year 97, 98 to bankers. This is now 25 years ago. They said the internet is just for dating, basically, and is for nerds and geeks. Today, the internet is for everybody. A bank without internet banking is considered basically not existent. And for the younger generation, the bank must not be a big institutional bank anymore. Neobanks are considered as applications. So for kids, for Gen Y and Gen Zers, they don't need a big bank building or a bank branch. They just need a cool application. And probably the coolest fintech application in the world, which has become very controversial actually, is Robinhood, the trading, the brokerage application, which is so successful in terms of recommendations and being very engaging that it turned almost addictive, and there are a lot of lawsuits against Robinhood because there are even people who trade too much and even actually lose too much. And there were even some suicide accidents happening because of Robinhood's addictive nature, actually. So as you can see, the automotive industry now, with Tesla being the most valuable car maker on the planet, being more valuable than Volkswagen, Toyota, and all the others combined, because they have basically a digital equipment with 4 wheels attached to it, and being the future of the automobile. basically. And there's others like Lucid Cars and Rivian and so forth following them with a very high valuation. So the automotive industry is changing. The logistics industry is changing. Banking, we talked about. Insurance industry. The retail is turning to e-commerce, basically. And Walmart and Alibaba is changing everything from a supply chain perspective, from a recommendation perspective, and from a business model perspective. So digital transformation is here to stay. It already impacted our personal lives, our children's life, and the industries we were used to. And those industry boundaries now getting blurrier and blurrier. How does this happen? We call those things who affect our lives and these transformation digital superpowers. We have basically three main categories for these digital superpowers. The first, we believe that everything will be connected to the internet, almost everything. So as it is economically feasible to connect, to put a chip, to put a sensor on something, we will do that because we will need the data and the status of that equipment. These could be forklifts in our warehouses, this could be trucks on our supply chain, this could be airports, smart homes, smart factories, smart warehouses, smart anything. To make them smart, we need them first to be connected to the internet. And the 5G deployment is because of this. In the 20s, we will see 5G deployment. In the 2030s, we will see 6G deployment because we will need more bandwidth and more connectivity capabilities because we will continue to put a chip on almost everything because we would like to trace them. And at some point in time, we probably will need to trace them for their freshness, for their quality, and for their integration on the value chain end to end. So as these things are connected to the internet, and there are different predictions and forecasts. I've worked a very long time at Gartner. They had a forecast for these years, which I think surpassed. It was about 20 billion devices, and I think we already surpassed 50 billion devices on the planet connected to the internet. We can't count them, and there is no reason to count them, and there is no value in counting them. We will add new things to the internet continuously, and I think there is no easy way to be able to count them. But all these devices connected to the internet create tons of data. So and we start analyzing those data is mostly in the cloud, and we are able to apply analytics and artificial intelligence, and basically everything which is connected to the internet becomes intelligence. This is what we call the smart home, the smart factory, the smart warehouse, the smart building, the smart city, the smart airport, the smart hotel. Everything basically will become smart. As you remember, today we call our phones again. A few years earlier, we called the new kind of large screen phones, we called them smartphones because there were still dumb phones around. Now there's almost no old phone around anymore, and that's the reason we don't need to call the smartphone anymore. When all the cities and when all the homes are smart homes again, we will call them homes because there will be no dumb homes anymore. The dumb homes will be like Stone Age. We will consider them as caves. For the next 10 to 20 years, we will call a few things smart cities, smart homes, and so forth. And after everything has turned into smart, we will start call them again homes and factories, and it will be the de facto standard, basically. And the third big digital superpower is that everything will get integrated. End-to-end integration without human intervention will solve many issues in terms of inefficiencies, in terms of waste, in terms of energy and sustainability. So we can't rely on human beings processing documents, processing claims, underwriting processes, and other things. We need to automate all those things and integrate the processes end to end, because there's a lot of waste and inefficiency and human errors happening along the way. And why we do this? So there is a reason. First of all, it's of course for technology people like us, it's very cool to do these projects, but there's a business reason why we do that. And the business reason is basically we need speed. The the whole systems and the whole processes need to get faster and faster so we can have better quality of life. Even for sustainability, it is very important when you think of an emergency room in a hospital. If the systems are broken, if the processes are bureaucratic, people will die because of this. So if we can speed up the registration, if we can speed up diagnosis, if we can speed up the right treatment, if we can speed up the appropriate physician to arrive at the right time and apply the right treatment, we will save lives. And this will happen in many different industries, in manufacturing, in banking, in insurance, in retail, and we will save on energy, we will save on resources, and we will improve the quality of life. Another important thing digital provides is precision. Still, when you look at digital marketing, when you look at pricing, when you look at employee engagement, we hugely depend on human intervention and on human experience. If we could apply analytics and machine automation on these things, the precision of our campaigns, the precision of pricing, the precision of replenishment, the precision of forecasting would improve. And today we call it precision manufacturing, precision agriculture, precision healthcare, and other forms of precision applied on different industries and different business models will help us to be much more precise and gain a lot of benefits. And thirdly, another benefit of digital superpowers is we are able to add new value to our employees, to our customers, to our business partners, to our suppliers, because the use of data and digital channels are enabling new possibilities which were not able in the physical way. As I gave the example of a music store not knowing why I bought the music and how I will consume that music, a fitness center does not actually know too much about how I'm doing fitness. But Peloton, for example, knows exactly when I'm working out, how I'm working out, how much I'm working out, and how much calories I'm burning. So there is different things happening on the digital channels, which are very, very beneficial. And that's the reason why we are doing digital transformation. Lastly, let me very briefly conclude with what our passion is at Digitopia. We measure the digital maturity of companies in such a way that we can identify where they are on their digital transformation journey, how well they are able to apply these digital superpowers, and what they need to do to even further mature and further succeed with their digital transformation. We are doing this since 4 years now, and in the last 2 years, we have measured more than 150 companies in more than 20 countries, in more than 10 different industries, and gained a lot of experience. Those countries are spread across 4 continents, the Americas, Europe, even in Africa, especially North Africa, Asia, in different places, in Far East Asia, including Far East Asia and the Middle East. And the current database average of those close to 200 assessments we did on a scale from 1 to 5 is 2.8, actually. So banking industry, as you can expect, is among the highest, and this the average in the banking industry is 3.1. The average in the insurance industry is 2.9, slightly higher than the average, but the average in the retail industry, for example, is just 2.6. So we see that some industries are ahead and some industries are behind. It depends on the resources they are able to apply. It depends on the talent and the capabilities they have internally and externally. And it also depends on the vision and the customer expectations. In banking, the customer was very quickly adopted to the digital channels and pushed the banks to move to digital. And as the number of transactions increased, the banks needed to improve their back offices as well. And a lot of other things changed in many banks. And this is exactly where I will stop and where I will turn back to my dear panelists, and will continue the conversation, inviting them. And I will Let me start with Ahmed, who was the group CIO at Al Baraka Group from Bahrain, but with banks in many countries, including Turkey, where I was involved in a lot of strategic engagements during my days at Gartner. And today he's an entrepreneur who is helping banks and other institutions. And we will talk about what he thinks, why digital is so important and plays a key role in not only banks, but also in businesses in general. So welcome, Ahmed. Let's
Thank you.
have your thoughts
Thank you,
on why digital is so important.
Yes, thank you very much, Halil. And what you've said is a great segue. And the main point is that digital transformation is very important, is because, as you said, we need to sustain success. And maybe in other terms, we also use is to gain competitive advantage, or even if not gaining, we at least maintain that competitive edge. And digital is the way we could maybe at least survive and even further gain that competitive advantage. So as we grow, these technologies emerge, and these technologies really impact the lives of the people. The same thing, it will impact society, and it impact their expectations for our banks and companies to provide the same convenience of these technology throughout the services. So that's why I think it's very important, as you said, to reimagine the business using these technologies that are impacting people and providing values. And by reimagining our businesses to ensure that it's not only competitive, but also to sustain success, digital transformation is the way we need to undergo to ensure that our businesses stay relevant in this digital era and relevant to our customers.
Thank you, Ahmed. Very well said. And meanwhile, our dear third panelist has arrived. Welcome, Hani. And I will let you have a breath, and then we'll switch to you after I gave the floor to Ali. So we worked together at a large bank in the United Arab Emirates, Ali, a few years ago, and then you decided to become an entrepreneur as well. But now, as an entrepreneur, but also as an executive in your former career, you worked a lot on digital transformation initiatives. So, what is your experience, and how do you see the importance of digital superpowers and digital capabilities in banks or in other businesses you now support as an entrepreneur?
Thank you, Halil, for the opportunity. Actually, like what you said also, that the digital is no longer an option. Now it's a must for everyone. And we have seen through the past 2 years with the pandemic, it really highlighted the need for digital experience, and the e-commerce were the start of the show, right? Because then they were already prepared, but the pandemic gave them all that room and chance to move very fast and become very much successful. At the same time, there were many parties, I would say, from the large companies, or even some of the government organizations who were claiming that they had digital platforms and digital readiness, but the pandemic actually unveiled many of those issues. So what ended up happening is that all the companies and enterprises then had to expedite their digital journeys. They all went again and evaluated what they have done. And at the same time, some of the e-commerces, like I said just now, gained the big market share during that period. And they were startups who were in the middle of their journeys. They had to expedite the implementation and go live faster. I've read about many startups which have actually their value and market share has gone very much high during the pandemic, because they were either already live and running businesses, or they were in the middle of their journey. to reach to that stage, and they had to expedite it and cut short and be live in a very short period of time. Now, going back again to corporates and to enterprises, digital, like we said, is not an option anymore. It is a must. And we have seen also that the role of the digital officer have become now very much obvious in almost all organizations. Many of the organizations were not convinced about the digitization and digital officer. They have either acquired that type of skills from the outside market, or they've encouraged some of their legacy people who had that readiness to move into digital to become digital officers. And now we see that the digital officer plays an executive role in many of these organizations, both government, semi-government, and also private. And that role is actually into setting up and implementing the digital strategy for those enterprises.
Thank you very much. Very nice summary, actually. And the executive career, we talked a lot with you about this, and we saw different things happening, especially and for some of visionary companies, we saw that the CIO turned into a chief digital officer, into a CDO, and in some companies even a CDO turned into a CEO. And we have one of those successful CEOs among us. Hani Idris has become the CEO of the International Development Bank Dubai. Welcome, Hani. And as a technology expert and a banking expert, now you are one of the best examples how a career originated in technology, but then turned into executive leadership, tells a good story. So would you like to share your story with us?
Thank you very much, Halil. And I'm sorry for being late, and I failed to join in the right time.
You came right on the spot.
Yes, and I'm really very happy and honored to have my friends and brothers. I mean, Ahmed Albalooshi. I met him last June in Istanbul. We shared a conference there. And also, I'm really keen and happy to meet my new brother. I mean, Ali Sajwani. He is already in Dubai, and I'm already in Dubai. We need to meet. We must meet sometime. Okay. Simply, and I will add to, I mean, the introduction by Ali. Digital transformation is no more an option. It is mandatory. Okay. Being a banker, I mean, for the 47 years, I do remember the semi-manual, I mean, environment of doing banking, or probably manual to a certain extent, to this era of we have now in United Arab Emirates few months back, there was a sort of official declaration of probably the first ever digital corporate bank. Okay, it's not named even a thing. Based on my experience, digital transformation, it is a civilization process. It is a culture movement from an era to a different era. In the meantime, digital transformation, it's not, I mean, or online, internet or banking functionality. It's by more part than that. It's really means the organization itself, the governance of the organization. It means the employee. It means the customer journey. It really means your operation. Definitely, it means your technology and innovation. So there are different elements involved in the digital transformation. This is in a brief, but I can go in more details. And my concern in most of the banks, based on my field experience, where I do probably more than 12, digital transformation strategy to key banks like in Jordan, Iraq, and other Arab countries. I realized that the IT people, to a certain extent, they convince directly or indirectly the management of the banks that digital transformation is simply its technology. Okay, and they have really, I don't want to say ignored, they have not really given the right or the weight or the other elements or dimensions to be involved in this process. I do remember probably 3 years back, Halil, when we under the umbrella of Union of Arab Banks, where I mean we used your technique, the Digitopia for the digital maturity index. It was really very smart and very crucial and good process where we do it for two banks in the region. One was Jordan, Bank of Jordan in Jordan, and the other bank is International Development Bank Iraq. You get my point? It was very interesting, and I don't want to take much of the time of the panelists. Maybe if you are interested to ask me more details about this introduction, we can talk. I don't want to take the time of my brothers, Ali
Yes.
and Ahmed. Also.
Thank you, Hani. Very well said. And we'll talk about the details of the digital maturity assessment. But it's a very important finding from our research, having done hundreds of digital maturity assessments, that digital is not just about technology. It's about the customer, it's about operations, it's about business model innovation. And as Peter Drucker likes to say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's also about a cultural transformation. The thinking digital and thinking digital first is something completely different than just doing some sort of technology projects. Now, having done hundreds of technology projects in a very successful way, Ahmed, what were the kind of success criteria for those projects which went well? And I know you have done hundreds of very successful projects. If you can distill and summarize the most important success criteria which you saw, which made a transformation or a big project successful, because we know that a lot of transformations and a lot of projects fail due to different reasons. So what made your projects so successful?
Okay. It is very hard to claim that every single aspect of the projects were successful, but what we've learned is that when you look at a project in terms of delivering value and delivering business capabilities instead of purely a technology, this gives us a big chance of success. And what I mean is that some banks or some organizations just invest in technologies for the sake of saying that we have invested in that technology. But what is more important is how this technology will aid the business capability of the business and give it a value to their, whether it's internal or to their customers. And when we focus on the value of these projects to build business capabilities, I think it will become a much more successful. And I always like this term as, do you want to be a digital fashionista? Okay, where you just say that this bank claims to have artificial intelligence, both this new technology, we're investing in this and that. Or you really want to be a digital master, where these technologies are aiding business capabilities and providing value to all the stakeholders and most importantly to the customers. So I think looking at technology to build business capabilities, as well as the most important is the ownership, not only from the IT department and business department, the business ownership of this project, but also the management buy-in and having believed that these technologies will empower the business. And that's where I see the key difference in the project success or failure.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. Yeah, this distinction between digital fashionistas and digital masters is a really important one. And again, here, I think measuring the digital maturity of an organization makes an important difference to understand where your digital maturity is. And for you, you know already that we measure this in 6 dimensions. For the audience, probably it's worthwhile reminding them of these 6 dimensions again. As we said, digital transformation is not just about technology. Technology is probably the most important enabler, but there's the customer aspect to it, the operations, and the innovation, which we call the digital velocity. These have direct impact on the balance sheet. And if you can instill digital in the customer experience, in operational excellence, and in business model innovation, you can make a true difference. And you can accelerate your speed, which we call digital velocity. On the other hand, there are three other dimensions, which are the people, the governance, and the technology, which are the kind of enablers supporting the other three. And we call them the digital endurance, because they provide the resilience and the capabilities to run a successful business. And you have to improve and accelerate and excel in all these 6 dimensions, ideally simultaneously and in a homogeneous way, which is not always possible and which is not always easy. But exactly as Ahmed just described, doing just projects for the sake of the projects, wannabe projects, pet projects, as they call it, this would be like turning into a digital fashionista. So the business would not be very digital, but you would have probably spent a lot of money on digital. Now, Ali, I would like to turn to you with a similar question. We did work very closely for a long time at a very large institution, and you've managed, again, probably hundreds of projects during your career. And some of them were more successful than others. Many of them were very successful. You were the lead technology leader, the digital leader of one of the largest banks in the GCC, probably the largest bank in the UAE. So what is your experience? What makes a project or a transformation successful from your experience?
So if we touch specifically on the success of the project, then we go back to the project management 101, right? For a project to be successful, you need to have a proper business case, and then you need to have a full ownership from the business side to adopt the project and give it all the support, and then you have the operations and the risk and the audit, everybody they're involved. So this is, you can have a successful implementation. But what is more important, like you mentioned, is that what is the actual success and the impact on the consumer, right? Now, for me, if I really want to have a successful implementation, I need to find a difficult problem and try to solve it. If I find a very easy one and try to find and digitize it, then yes, I have gained a little bit of improvement. But if I try to find the most difficult one, the most manual one, the one that the consumer today is facing the most challenges and difficulty with it, and then try to move that one from, for example, 20% automation to 80% automation, then I have gained the most of the impact. So this way, it is very important to measure beforehand. You list all the processes that you have and measure them. Maybe do some sort of a survey with your consumers to see what are their pain points. Go down to your branch, go down to the call center and understand what are those complaints and the queries and the inquiries that come from the consumer. Speak to the operation team and find out what is the most difficult operation that takes a lot of their time and has a lot of manual entries or issues here and there. Then try to automate those type of processes. This way, you can gain the most value and the most impact. But I would also want to now say, what about going forward, right? So now we, like you said, the banking sector and the banks have been an early adopters of digitization or digitalization or digital journey. They have mobile apps, smart mobile apps, which have really improved and gone far away comparing to when they started. Where do I see today some of the banks, or most of the banks are failing? So when you talk about the high like volume transaction banking, organizations, no matter how much robust and how much strong are their systems, they will still have some issues here and there. There will be some gap, there will be some error, something will happen, and then the consumer will have to take the call and speak to the bank to solve his problem. Why can't the bank, using all the digitalization available today, use the IoTs, use all those sort of sensors and triggers? Why can't the bank actually get notified by an issue that the consumer has faced and take a proactive action to talk or message or send a notification to that consumer to tell them, by the way, we are aware of your problem and we're going to solve it for you. So take, for example, a consumer who's trying to withdraw cash from the ATM. I know we are now moving into cash less. I would not call it cashless society. We're moving into less cash society, and we have seen this actually improving much faster. But still, in our all regions, we still need to carry some cash with us. So if the customer or the consumer goes to the ATM machine, they try to withdraw cash, and for some reason, that card gets absorbed by the ATM machine, either because it's expired, because they put the PIN code multiple times, or because of some mechanical problem. What if, when I am in that type of a pressure, I receive a message from my bank or an app notification from a mobile app saying, we have been notified that your card has been absorbed by the machine and so location, and we are working on priority to ship you a card within 24 hours. How much I would feel as a customer walking away from this experience, knowing that my bank knew about my problem before I actually go and report it to them and have to call the call center and then press 1 for Arabic or 2 for English, or maybe speak to a virtual assistant who does not really recognize my accent, and then I have to repeat again, and then give up and probably not even being able to call the call center. So I hope I did not take a lot of time. Over to you, Halil.
No, thank you very much. This was very insightful, very pragmatic example. I know you could talk for hours on all these different examples, and probably in the next round, you will connect this to blockchain and decentralization of finance, where you can get notifications from not only your bank or the ATM machine, but from multiple participants on the whole value chain. And we'll get there in about 5 to 10 minutes. But this will be very exciting. Thank you for already giving us the hint where the future is going in the banking, and not only in the banking. So, Hani, again, probably connecting it to your personal career, there must be a reason and there must be a secret sauce for your success in your career as a technology expert, becoming a business leader and an executive leader. Now, what is your success formula for making transformations succeed?
By the way, I am almost close to reach 70 years old after probably 2 weeks from now. I'm a technical oriented person. I'm not a good user actually to access Zoom or even to use my mobile. It was a very hard journey because I was forced to move from being a branch manager in Kuwait, that was 1984, to handle the responsibility of create ATM service at the bank. At the time the management nominated me, they says, I told them, please, I don't know ATM stands for what. Honestly speaking, it was not an easy journey. It was a very hard journey. I'm not an IT man in any case, okay? But it was really interesting. I went through that career path in Kuwait, Jordan, Yemen, and Iraq. And the 38 years from 84 up to this moment, all was sort of technology, banking oriented achievements, mainly on the payment industry and digital, I'm not going to say digital, and I mean financial services oriented. Now it is digital financial services. As it relates to digital transformation, my experience in this started, probably mid of 2019, just before Corona. I'm going to concentrate on what we do at International Development Bank, Iraq. We submit, a document for the Central Bank of Iraq on October 2019 to issue probably or create the first ever digital bank in Iraq. And up to this moment, we cannot get a license or approval from the Central Bank. Their excuse is, which is very serious excuse, is they don't have regulations for digital banks. And still they don't have. And I believe only GCC countries are advanced in the Arab world as it relates to regulators and regulations for this, sophisticated or, a new era of technology. Like, Central Bank of United Arab Emirates, definitely, Central Bank of Bahrain. As a countries, okay, and definitely Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, probably Oman, etc. But in the other part of the world, even in Jordan, up to this moment, the Central Bank of Jordan have not really approved finally regulations for digital banking or digital bank. They have, they have a step where they send the proposed or the draft of the regulations to the banks and have their feedback. But for my knowledge, up to this moment, they have not yet finally declared. The most interesting when we start working on digital transformation project, it was, linked with you, Halil, when we do the digital maturity index process on the bank. And there was a real resistance, honestly speaking, from the technical people to do. And I try my best, please let us get other people involved, other departments involved. They summarize the digital transformation with the technology. During that period, I was really found that the digital maturity index is a very important, element to really give the bank, sort of real assessment and evaluation. Where do you stand as it relates to digital transformation? Because it really considers 6 dimensions to be measured and evaluated and assessed. It's the governance itself of the organization, the employee, the customer journey, the technology, definitely, which is a key element, but it is not the only dimension. It's not only the only element. Innovation and also your operating model. Because when you are going to move from the current status to a digital transformation environment, there must be a sort of real change of your operating model. And that's what also banks have not. And we found at that time that I think our digital maturity index on the average out of 5 remarks you do for every dimension, and there is probably more than 16 or 15 factors for every dimension. So our result was something around 2.8. Okay, and the other bank that was Bank of Jordan at that time, that was 3.6. So it was really reflecting a fact and difference between these two environments. In the meantime, I believe from the experience, when we draft what we call the strategy of digital transformation at the bank, but it's just only, we have not really moved because we have been stuck with the central bank as it relates to the approval. What we do, we consider the digital maturity index is one of the prerequisites for the evaluation and assessment, where do we stand. And after that, we were able to start, drafting our digital transformation strategy, which is 3 components. Component number 1 is the strategy itself, where it covers our vision for digital transformation. What is our mission statement based on the vision of the chairman, and the goals and objectives associated, to achieve this, vision and the mission statement. And we divide the goals and objectives to be in 2 categories. Quantitative and the qualitative, goals and objectives. Also, the second component of our digital transformation was the digital implementation, where definitely we have, agreed on the main phases of this digital transformation, which was, by the way, for 3 years' time. Okay, every phase, it will be very well defined with the accomplishment date and owner. Every phase have an owner. Who is the person, not as a person, but as a function within the bank, who is responsible to achieve this phase, with the sources allocated if it is needed to accomplish that phase. The third part or third component of the strategy was what we call evaluation and control, where there was a sort, I don't like the word committee because one Irish person, he teach me something in housing bank, that was 1991. He says, as it relates to committee, he says, I mean, the camel is a horse designed by a committee, okay? Because when you talk about committee, it means that you have something really good idea. At the end, it will be because of different culture. But that I will come and see the steering team, the chairman, myself, and the CIO were the group. I mean, doing the sort of manual and monthly evaluation and assessment for that strategy. But at the end, when we thought to move to and create the first ever, let's say, bank in Iraq as a digital bank, still we have not yet really get any movement from the central bank because there is no regulations to do so. I was impressed when I joined, IDB, United Arab Emirates, different environment, different culture, different or sophisticated, regulator in this type, and was impressed that the first probably digital corporate bank, because our license with Central Bank of United Arab Emirates as International Development Bank is restricted license for corporate only. We are not permitted actually to give our services for retail at all. It's only dedicated for corporate and wholesale banking. Then the first corporate digital bank in United Arab Emirates, probably in the Arab world, is owned by a leader, not in the banking industry, a leader in the real estate business. Honestly speaking, and I think Brother Ali knows, I think Mr. Muhammad Abbar, if I'm not mistaken, he is not a banker. He is, a leader on the real estate business. And he is convinced, that there should be a sort of digital corporate bank. I'm not going to talk more about that. Give, the floor to my brothers. Thank you.
Thank you, Anis. Hani, very, very insightful, and 38 years of experience is really that's the reason why you have many things to talk about, and I'm sure you could continue for hours, but we have limited time. Gentlemen, for the last round, we're going to talk about how the future, the digital future, will unfold. The name of our company, Digitopia, basically comes from that digital future. We don't know if the future will be dystopian or utopian, but it will be definitely more digital. That's why we called our company Digitopia, which is basically the digital future. So again, very, very briefly, but I would kindly ask you to summarize your thoughts in 2 to 3 minutes, and we can conclude in about 10 minutes this webinar and open the floor for questions from our audience. So how do you think, Ahmed, these technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and many others will unfold not only in the world of the financial services industry, but at large? What is most exciting for you when you look into the future?
Well, honestly speaking, there is no specific technology that I'm excited about, but I think the whole notion that we are moving toward a digitopian state, this is what excites me. And I think there'll be not a single technology, but it could be amalgamation of different technologies that really will provide us, not only businesses, but as a human, a different way, an improved way of living. So, and I think the best way is for us as a human and as a company to see how these technologies can help us live a more sustainable life and sustainable success. But I think the most of us is to understand these technologies, understand what's the impact on us, and try to, from now, to explore. Because if we're too late, that means our competitors have gained a competitive advantage while we're just wait and see. So this is my view on which technology. I didn't give any specifics, but I think it will be a combination of technologies that will really make a difference for us as a human as well as businesses.
Thank you. I only can say, inshallah. I consider you're optimistic that the future will unfold positively for our humankind, right?
Inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much. I know usually there's a rule for people, or the selection of people. We usually like to talk to more the optimistic people, or the pessimists. Basically, I don't think the pessimists of the world don't change the world. They just complain about the world. The optimists are changing the world, and that's the reason why we have only optimists on this panel. I know Ali is particularly excited about the blockchain and the decentralization of many different things, but the floor is yours. It's not just only the blockchain. What are you excited about, and how do you see the digital future unfolding?
So when you ask me about blockchain, it's like you're telling me this is an open book and write as much as you want. So I'll try to also to be very precise here. Okay, so many people ask me, right? I've been, very excited about blockchain, at least for the past 6 years, from 2016 until now, even before I established my own company and on blockchain. And people tell me, okay, you've been talking about it now for 6 years, but you have not seen things moving. So to give a very quick analysis of why blockchain has not really moved, of course, as blockchain is a very promising technology, but it is improving, it is evolving. Day after day, there are new things happening, there are new improvement in the technology, so it is moving very fast. Now, blockchain, like you're all aware, it's not only about cryptocurrency. You can have the blockchain to digitize many of your manual processes that are available today, solve some of the problems which cannot be solved by Web 2.0. You can solve them by what is called now Web 3, which is an actual representation of the real assets into the digital world. Now, I don't want to get into too much of details here, but my looking up into the future is that for the blockchain itself. Now, if we leave cryptocurrency aside, for the blockchain use cases, whether it's in the trade finance, whether it is in actual like certification processes, if it's in supporting the operational processes that you have today, all of that can be solved, unfortunately, only when there is a big father or a big daddy coming on board to say, this is how you do it. So the regulators have to somehow take over the ownership of the blockchain and try then to bring everybody around the table and make them all work together. Now, if you move to the other side, which is the more public side, the part which is more dealing with the consumers, we see things happening every day. Like I said just now, very early we saw a concept of the non-fungible tokens coming, the NFTs, which gained a lot of noise and market share. We also see in the background some of the regulators, like central banks, are working on what they call CBDC, which is the central bank digital currency. So it's actually a crypto excuse me, a crypto presentation excuse me, it's a crypto presentation of the current legacy conventional currencies. Now, I find that these two, the NFTs from one side and the CBDC from the other side, if they really become live and they become very functional, then these two embedded into the metaverse will make our life transform in a big time. We see now that the metaverse is the concept that is everybody's talking about. Right now in Dubai, we have 2 days event about metaverse. And there's a lot of attraction. A lot of people are very excited. Now, many of the organizations moving from having just, they used to have only websites, which is one-way information. They move into having mobile apps and internet portals, where it's a transactional based. Now they would like to go into the metaverse, where they can be present with their avatars and have videos and have training and have so many things happening in the metaverse world. So my look up into the future to sum it up here is that there are a few prerequisites have to come together. And with the metaverse having to improve also, because from technology point of view, it's not capable today of supporting the expectation from the metaverse in terms of number of attendees and number of participants. Once this all evolve together, we will see a big transformation happening using the blockchain as the underlying technology.
Well, this is a very far future scenario, very comprehensive. Thank you for that. we had many conversations with you, and will continue those conversations on the metaverse and Web3 and the decentralization. It will be very exciting to see. We all here has exposure to the Gartner documents. They refer to this as the hype cycle, as most of our listeners will know as well. And this Web3 and the metaverse went a very steep hype cycle after Mark Zuckerberg's announcements last year in October, basically. And then we had this crazy NFT movement about the Bored Ape. So people were buying monkey pictures, JPEG pictures for millions actually, but with the recession and the federal banks starting to increase the interest rate again, all the cryptocurrencies and all the NFTs and all the excitement around the metaverse declined again as rapidly as it speeded up in the last year. So, but as Gartner says, and which is very true, the technology is evolving, constantly evolving, and people also evolving to understand what it is good for. So when we clear out the hype and all the noise around it, technologies evolving, and as the genie now is out of the bottle, we will find with all technologies, we have found smart ways to make the world a better place. And I'm sure NFTs, metaverse, Web3, blockchain will support to make banks more efficient, to make e-commerce more efficient and more secure and more decentralized, and hopefully even, probably even, there is this notion of democratization in the blockchain as well, and we'll see how that will evolve. So, Hani, now you've recently joined International Development Bank and become the executive leader of this bank. What are your plans, and how do you see the digital future unfolding? Again, please, in 2-3 minutes, a summary. I know you could talk again for us on this, but a brief summary, please.
Let me divide it in two parts. As it relates to IDB Iraq, I think the challenge is the regulations. We are in need for regulations. Definitely, we are in need of know-how technology. This is the challenge, actually. That's what the priority, I mean, for the country itself, not only IDB Iraq. As it relates to, I mean, the IDB United Arab Emirates, I can foresee that, I mean, being in the banking industry, there are new players, I mean, the fintech or financial institutions who are trying to compete with the banks, or filling the gap of the penetration of where the banks really miss to capitalize on for the customers. Definitely, I agree with my brothers, I mean, both Ali and Ahmed. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, digital currency for all central banks is in the process. And I expect, I mean, digital currency for most of the central banks in the Arab world to start from next year, being declared that there is the digital currency in United Arab Emirates, digital currency in Saudi Arabia, etc. And definitely cryptocurrency, okay, will be on the map. I add to it, I mean, what I prefer to say, data science, or what they used to call big data, because this is the world, and this is the assets of all banks. Is the information, is the data about your customer, about your, I mean, this is a challenge for banks, how they can really capitalize on these assets, this wealth, which is the customer information and customer data, and that's a brief. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So great conversation. I think we could continue for hours fantasizing and philosophizing and coming up with new business models. And we all know that we in this short amount of time we can touch only on the main subjects, and we did in a very informed way, in a very intellectual way. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Thank you very much, Ali. Thank you very much, Hani. Very insightful, and we hopefully will continue this conversation in these webinars. So we have a few guests in our audience. Are there any specific questions you can, I think, put it in the questions and answers, and we try to answer them. So a question to Ali came in. What do you think will be the most important use case of blockchain? Is one. Ali, you want to take this? You already talked about it a little bit, but
yeah,
probably about a specific use case you think will be unfolding quickly.
I think there are many potential use cases that can happen, but if, in my opinion, the most successful one would be, and the most impactful one, be around payments, right? So if we can really move from the fiat, move our fiat currency to become crypto-based, then we can utilize the power of the blockchain and all those features that we have today that is there in Ethereum and in Bitcoin and in Solana and the Cardano and so on. All of that can be given to the dollar and to the dirham and to the euro and to the pound and so on. So in very short, I feel that this will be the most useful and most powerful implementation if it can really move from fiat into conventional. From fiat, sorry, to crypto. Sorry, yeah.
All right. So a question to all of us. We talked about different dimensions of digital transformation. As talked, it is not only about technology. Of course, it is hard to choose only one of those, but which one do you think the companies lack the most? So among the digital maturity dimensions, which are customer operations, innovation, people governance, and technology, I can give you a hint already. Technology is the most advanced in terms of digital maturity, but what do you think is the one companies lack the most? Who would like to talk about this? Yes, Ahmed, go ahead.
Very good question. And I think if I would choose a dimension, not because they lack in it, but yes, they lack in it. And I think, in my opinion, is the most important is the governance. Why? Because governance indicate to me that there is a leadership vision and a leadership buy-in, and the leadership ensuring that this organization is rallying toward the Digitopia state or become a digital master. So for me, it's governance that I really focus on, and I think that's the most successful criteria, is when the board of directors and management have a clear vision and ensure that the entire organization is marching toward that vision.
Thank you. And any other question? Any other answer? Excuse me. Ali, Hani, you want to have your view on this question? What is the most important dimension?
The second one, from my point of view, in addition to, Brother Ali, Brother Ahmed, which is related to the governance, which is really priority number one, I believe, because this is the high level of the organization. This is the high level of the organization. They don't have their vision or their, commitment where they want to see the bank after, let's say, 3 or 5 years. I think the second dimension is to be the customer journey, because this is your targeted. You are structured to, improve your customer journey. So the customer journey should be the second dimension to be taken into consideration as from priority point of view.
Thank you. I would also double on that, especially for the B2C business model for organizations who are touching directly consumers, like banks, like insurance, like utilities, like retail, like e-commerce. The customer journey, the customer experience, the customer dimension must drive digital transformation. To provide a good customer experience, you also need good governance and good operations anyway. So the focus and the priority must be on the customer side. Ali, you want to add something to this?
Well, I think you've covered most. For me, adoption is, which is also part of the customer journey, is actual measurement of the success. If there is no adoption of the digital transformation or the use of it, then there is no value of what you are doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Another question we have for Ahmed: what are the criteria for choosing the vendor for a new fintech project?
Okay, interesting question, and I think in the digital journey, or you will need to do a lot of technologies, you will need to do a lot of projects, and obviously you will not be able to do that alone with your internal resources, with your limited capabilities, and therefore choosing the right partner is very essential. And what I look in a partner is that they share the partnership mindset. I don't want a partner that is transactional. Do the deal, close the project, and he's gone. I look for a partner that we can establish a strategic relationship whereby we face the issues together, we build a solution, and it's a win-win situation. So the strategic mindset of that partner is very critical for me.
I would like to add on top of
Please.
what Ahmed said also, and being a fintech myself today, what I would like to see on the other side in the selection is that for a partner or for a fintech to do an excellent job, first you need to have that business sense. So whatever problem they are trying to solve with their fintech implementation, they should understand the business. They should have the subject matter expertise very deep of it, but at the same time, they should also have the technology of it. So if I am a business, a business sense person, and I am outsourcing all my technology somewhere, and then I have to come and deliver a solution to my customer, I might face some difficulty. And if I'm too much into technology and not really having business sense, then I also face a problem. But having a balance of both of them can guarantee, or at least give you a big confidence of a successful implementation.
Thank you very much. Here again, distilled experience of many years selecting vendors, just summarized in a few sentences. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So as I said, we could continue for hours. I know these three gentlemen for a very long time, and they have very humble beings, not went into too much details, but there is accumulated, I would say, in total close to, or probably more than 100 years of leadership experience here on this panel, being Hani being the leader and the most experienced among us, but definitely very valuable insights. Thank you to our attendees. Thank you to our great panelists, and we'll continue to do these kind of webinars in the near future again. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us and your insights. See you soon again. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.